And now back to Guy, who's at the new bridge at Dartford.
Indeed I am. There's no shortage of superlatives to describe the new Queen Elizabeth II Bridge, opened formally by Her Majesty this morning. First of all, it's the largest of its kind anywhere in Europe. It's the first bridge over the Thames downstream of the city to be built in almost 100 years. And perhaps most significantly, it's the first major road project to be commissioned by, built by and paid for by the private sector. It takes 4 lanes of the M25 southbound from Essex to Kent, while the northbound traffic now uses both bores of the Dartford tunnel, which it runs alongside. Our Kent reporter Robin Gibson was in the first car to cross the bridge.
Just take 145,000 cubic metres of concrete, 19,000 tonnes of steel and 48,000 gallons of paint and mix steadily with ingenuity for 3 years. Today, the bridge builders weren't about to let anyone forget their achievement. There was no surprise in the name. It had already been set on a tablet of stone. But this was a royal moment to savour.
The progressive extension of the M25 in the 1980s has led to ever greater traffic pressure, perhaps exemplified for many by the familiar radio announcements about the length of the tailback of the Dartford tunnel.
Tens of thousands will use the bridge every day, but they'll never see it quite like this again, fated on land, water and in the sky, as well as in words and music. Then the bridge was in business as the first official convoy, with the BBC much in evidence, crossed the Thames from Essex to Kent, led by the men who'll work here. Of course, somebody had to be first.
The 3 other Land Rovers alongside us early shift duty anyway, and I was just called in to assist on the Essex side. This is my way of getting back home.
Why did you come today?
Well, I watched it all through different stages of construction and, you know, come here for the big day.
Have we missed her?
Yeah, she's been and gone.
Well, we had trouble getting through the Dartford tunnel, so it's hell the other side.
I'm frightened of it now. It's frightening. I don't think I'll go over it because I'm scared of it.
Yeah, but everything's frightening at first, isn't it?
So after all the effort, the Dartford Bridge is now up and running smoothly. Things look good for the drivers coming from Essex into Kent, but going the other way, it looks rather like business as usual.
Well, the opening of the bridge should remove one of the worst bottlenecks on the M25. It immediately doubled the number of lorries and cars that can cross the river at this point. But there are fears that the new bridge will attract more drivers than ever onto the M25. Our transport correspondent, Simon Montague, has been looking at the implications for motorists in the southeast.
And Dartford Tunnel still has about a 2-mile queue southbound. For details...
Situation at the Dartford Tunnel so far this morning, pretty grim, with 5 miles of traffic queuing from Essex into Kent.
It's the plague of our lives, to be honest, this crossing.
Well, it's just bedlam, isn't it, all the time?
Very difficult to get to work, yeah.
What impact do you think the new bridge will have?
I'll tell you next week.
Motorists are in no doubt how awful the queues have been in the last few years. The opening of the bridge should end the daily misery at Dartford.
I think most people understand that something is being done and has been done over the last few years to solve the problems at Dartford. They've seen the bridge grow, and their problems from the 30th are problems of the past.
Forecasters expect an immediate 5 to 10% increase in traffic. The question is, how fast will it grow after that?
Well, that's really anyone's guess. Every time one of these major road improvements has come about, there has been a great growth in traffic, so I'm sure there will be a significant growth in traffic over the next few years.
But the prospect of those extra vehicles doesn't please councils which represent people living near the M25. They're worried about the side effects.
I think the main problem is going to be noise. At the moment, most of the traffic is actually travelling underneath the river, but of course it will now go over the river, and I think noise will certainly travel.
But the man in charge of the M25 for the Association of Chief Police Officers says the bridge can only be good news.
The new bridge should actually provide the solution to the congestion. We go from 3 lanes as you approach the bridge to 4 lanes across the bridge, all going in one direction. It should make for a very smooth traffic flow
And planners for the southeast say there's no doubt the bridge has implications far beyond the region.
There is a great need for high-quality transport links between the ports, Dover, the Channel Tunnel and the Haven ports in Essex, and the rest of the country, the Midlands and the North. Furthermore, there is a policy for an increased orbital capacity around London, and this bridge does just that.
So the bridge has a vital job to do, but the fact that it's here will attract yet more people onto the M25. The Channel Tunnel and plans to develop the East Thames corridor will only add further to the load. Already, the government's planning 2 new Thames crossings, one downriver from here, the other in East London. One thing's certain, this bridge still isn't enough.
Well, amongst those here to watch the celebrations today was the Transport Minister, Christopher Chope. Earlier today, I spoke to him. Mr. Chope, there's clearly demand for the new bridge. Almost as soon as it opens, there appears to be the same old traffic jams again. Are you confident that this will provide the capacity the M25 in the southeast so badly needs?
Well, we've doubled the capacity by building this bridge, and that's obviously a magnificent increase. And we'll have to see what happens in the future. But if we increase the size of the M25, which we plan to do, and traffic continues to grow as the nation becomes more prosperous, then who can say in a few years' time it may be necessary to have additional crossings of the Thames.
So you're by no means ruling out the fact that there may be more bridges like this one as they become necessary in the future?
No, I'm not ruling out further investment in our transport infrastructure as the nation continues to expand its economy. That's what's happened in every single country in the world, and here, as the prosperity increases, so people wish to travel more by car and there's more demand for heavy goods vehicles.
This is very much a first in terms of the involvement of the private sector in building a major piece of infrastructure like this. Do you expect that there will be more projects of this kind?
Very much so, and I think this has captured the imagination, and we've seen here a project which probably would have taken almost twice as long if it had been just done in the public sector, and full marks to the private sector for their flair and imagination.
It's easy to imagine the Transport Minister. The construction of the new bridge took 3 years, and to the astonishment of some and to the relief of others, was completed both on budget and on schedule. It's the first time, as Christopher Chope was saying, that a private enterprise has been involved on such a scale in constructing a new road link anywhere in Britain, as David Eads of BBC Radio Kent reports.
The definition of instant pain relief for motorists who have to suffer the Dartford tunnel. And despite its £86 million price tag, the construction of the new river crossing has also spared the government a financial headache. It may have written out the prescription for this 4-lane decongestant, but it went private for the treatment.
It's highly desirable to actually have the public and private sector working together. The public sector is financed by taxes from the general public. If we can encourage the private sector to take on some of these projects, that helps the taxpayer, and that's very substantial. Of course, the private sector only do it if they are able to charge tolls and thereby get a proper return on their investment.
Of the 8 companies who bid for this contract, the Department of Transport shortlisted the 3 cheapest. Trafalgar House was one of them.
Bank of America was approached by Trafalgar early in 1986 through Kleinwort Benson, and we were asked whether we, in principle, were interested in joining this transaction, and if so, on what basis we would join. We responded in fairly short order that we were prepared to get involved, and more importantly, we were prepared to underwrite all of the bank debt that the project was thought to require at that stage.
Trafalgar House has up to 20 years in which to recoup its costs, with an average of 1 vehicle a second paying up to £2.20 a time, day and night. It could hand back the crossings to the government, along with lucrative toll booths, in as little as 14 years. An incentive then for the Transport Secretary to plump for a low-cost option rather than a high-quality product.
One has to be very careful, and that is why we don't automatically always accept the lowest tender. There have been occasions when lower tenders have been refused because the judgment has been that they're not realistic, they haven't been properly costed, or that the end product might be inferior in quality.
Trafalgar House insists this crossing, now the largest single cable-stayed bridge in Europe, has been built to the highest specifications.
These main river piers, which we're looking at out there, underneath the pylons, are capable of withstanding the impact of a 65,000-ton vessel approaching at, I think it's 15 knots at any angle.
3 years and 2 months after work started on the new bridge, this project has been brought home on time and to budget. That already makes it a major success in the government's books, which has spawned further road-building programmes for the private sector. What's now in question is whether the motorist enjoys similar satisfaction.
Well, I'm joined now by Sir Nigel Brokes, chairman of Trafalgar House, which both commissioned and constructed the new bridge. Christopher Chope was talking about a new era of communications in the southeast. What kind of role do you think the private sector and companies like yours will play in future projects of this kind?
I think there's more of it to be done here in the southeast, but there's also the rest of Britain to consider and the rest of the world. We're active in these things everywhere already.
The fact that you brought this project in on time and on budget must give great heart both to the industry and the city.
The city's never been sceptical about this, but I think the government's encouraged to see what a success this has been.
What about other projects? I mean, the Channel Tunnel high-speed link is an obvious one which leaps to mind, which you were involved in negotiations earlier, which broke down. Do you foresee that you will be able to play a role in that now?
We're working for British Rail and with British Rail on the original scheme from the tunnel to Waterloo, and we're working on the north side of the Thames as well. Yes, there is a role, but whether we're just in there as engineers or as financiers as well, it's too early to tell.
And it depends, obviously, on a number of factors which you have yet to resolve with the government.
Yes, and which they have to resolve with the European Commission, as you've heard recently.
But today is very much, for you in particular, not only a day of celebration, but one of relief.
And rejoicing.
Indeed. Sir Nigel, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Now, back to Stephanie, who's on the other side of the bridge in Essex.
Over here on the Essex side of the Thames, there's still a lingering disappointment that the new crossing hasn't been called the Thurrock Bridge. But a dent in pride is about to give way to a much more serious rivalry between Kent and Essex now the bridge is open. Businesses on both sides of the Thames will see new opportunities opening up, and companies right across the southeast expect to save money. Hold-ups at the tunnel used to cost haulage companies £30 an hour per truck. Well, in a minute, I'll be speaking to the Federation of Small Businesses. But first, this report from our business and industry correspondent, Marie Kinsey.
One of Europe's largest retail centres, Lakeside at Thurrock, stands almost at the foot of the new river crossing. It opened a year ago, just as recession was beginning to bite. Last December, Danny Braun decided to expand her 3-year-old business selling American-style clothes and open a second branch at Lakeside. The bridge hasn't come a moment too soon.
It's been very hard indeed. It can only be a good thing. I mean, there's so much traffic coming through from the Dartford tunnel at the moment. It's opening up the whole of Kent to us, so yes, definitely.
Lakeside's million-plus square feet houses 250 shops, ranging from kiosks to some of Britain's best-known department stores. But goods, as well as people, need to get there.
London and the southeast accounts for some 40% of the nation's total retail sales. Yet the cost of getting goods to and across the region is some 30% higher here than anywhere else. Marks & Spencer's estimated the cost of lower average speeds and traffic congestion is £2 million a year, and Sainsbury's puts the figure at £3.4 million.
The end of a notorious traffic bottleneck threatens to heighten the traditional rivalry between businesses on either side of the river.
I think we'll get more people from Kent shopping in Essex. I mean, I'm not knocking Kent at all, but there really isn't anything on this scale and of this quality over the other side of the river. And I think they're just going to come and shop and have a look-see.
Kent may have no centre quite as large, but next April, the £110 million Royal Victoria Place in the centre of Tunbridge Wells should be complete and fighting for business.
People's mobility is vital to any sort of major shopping scheme, and the Dartford Bridge and tunnels mean that it's much easier to get from north of the Thames to south and therefore into Kent and Sussex. We expect that a fair number of our customers will come from north of the river. We expect tourists as well as dedicated shoppers to be amongst our customers.
But business leaders feel the bridge alone is not enough.
We certainly don't want to be in a position in 5 years' time of having the same horrendous congestion at that Dartford crossing that we've seen in past years. And we urge the Department of Transport and all those concerned to press ahead now with the Lower Thames crossing and the Hampshire link and the M3-M40 link, which will provide that outer orbital to relieve the congested M25.
Shoppers on both sides of the river may find the bridge gives them access to greater choice. In the meantime, the shops themselves will be working harder, persuading customers to step inside.
That report from Marie Kinsey. Stephen Alambritis, why will business benefit now that the bridge has opened?
It could signal the end of this deep recession for the area.
People have got the saving bug and they need to get the spending bug, and that will only come through easier access to the shops, and this kind of development will encourage people to go out and shop.
Is it going to be something that the rest of the South East will benefit from, or just Kent and Essex?
Yes, there should be a trickle effect insofar as shoppers do copy other shoppers, and the rest of London and the South East should definitely benefit in due time.
Is transport a major factor in business success?
It is. Major fixed costs, and this kind of development will cut away at the costs imposed on traffic jams and vans lying idle on the roads.
So you think it's a good day for business today?
Definitely.
Stephen Allenbritis, thanks very much.
That's just about it from this special edition of News from South East, live from Dartford. Behind me you see the new Queen Elizabeth II Bridge, opened today by Her Majesty. To give you some idea of scale, apparently the QEII, the liner, it would be able to pass underneath that. It's 57.5 metres high, a spectacular achievement for all concerned. And we leave you this evening with some of the pictures of those celebrations that went on throughout the day. From all of us here on News from South East, good evening.